Renee.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you, everyone, for joining. We really appreciate you guys taking the time, out of your day to join us. Today, we have a very, very, very special guest. I always enjoy hearing Dr. Oikelome's story and just hearing about her journey, and you guys will learn a lot. I remember the last time that she spoke was the first time that I actually was able to hear her story and kind of follow her journey. And I was truly, truly inspired by her and, and all of the things that she has done throughout her life and throughout her journey, in academia. So I'm excited for you to join us today. And I'm pretty sure that you will share some new information that we haven't heard and learned yet. So I will now hand it over.
Haven't heard and haven't read because you were highlighted in our Meet the Mustang series. Yes. Thanks, Mo.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mo, for that. And thank you, Stephanie, for that gracious introduction, for just jumping in and winging it. I'm going to say that's I want to know what you do what happens when you are prepared. So thank you for that. And it is a pleasure.
Thank you.
I think for me, these are the parts of the job that I appreciate, whether it's students, faculty, or staff, just to connect. Because I think when we can pull away a little bit and, just share just about ourselves as people, because most of our day is spent in this environment of the work that we do all day long. So it's always a pleasure to be here. Very informal. I'm among friends here, friends and colleagues. So just hope for this to be informal, and whoever's on, we chit chat, and whoever's not, then we will, we'll just go with it. But, Stephanie said, I'm Dr. Gloria Oikelome. It's my privilege to serve as Vice President of Academic Affairs at Montgomery County Community College. I am going into 3.5 years, although it feels like a lot longer than that, given all that we have all been navigating over the last 1.5 years. And I'm sure that each and every one of you could say the same thing, as we've all just been, we hit the ground, and we hit the ground a long time ago. And it feels like every day now we're just running. So I don't know how you want, are we introducing others on the call first, or you want me just, okay?
Yeah, however you'd like to run it. If you want everyone to introduce themselves, that's fine. If not, that's okay.
I think just versus, I'm a people person. You just talked about reading, I don't know how else we do this work or any other work we do without first getting to know ourselves as people, because I think that's what helps us to work well together. Too often we're just clinical and we're like, okay, that's that position. And then somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do, or somebody sent this email and we just sort of like attack people based on their position, forgetting that there's a person behind that, and there might be a story behind why they didn't do what you expected them to do. But if you knew them, it would make all the difference in the world. So that's a long way of saying, let's introduce everybody.
All right, I'll start. So hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Quadrado, and I am the career, let me get my title together because I'm still learning it. Career and Alumni Engagement Manager. That is my title, Career and Alumni Engagement Manager. And I am happy to be here, listening to your story today for sure.
Great. Anyone else, just jump in.
Yeah, I would say whoever wants to go, just jump right in.
I'm Morgan. And
Morgan.
Did she go? Okay. I'm Morgan. I'm interning with Act 101. So I've been working mainly with Christine and Karen. It's been great. I've loved it so far. And I've been working with Mo and Leslie, but they're all really great, and I can reach out at any time, and they're there with any question that I have. So that's been really nice, because I've worked a few different places before, not interning, but I've worked a few different places before where if I had a question, like I wouldn't get a response, and like they're just very responsive people, which has been amazing to see. So I'm in my last semester at Montco, and yeah.
Great, thank you. I was just gonna ask that because sometimes we get interns from other schools coming and we're always facilitating that. So good to know that you're one of our own, and that's great. Great to meet you, Morgan.
So I'm Christine Morris. I'm the program coordinator for our Act 101 program here at Montgo.
Yeah, hi, Christine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cheryl Watson, Mass Media Studies and Production Instructor and Club Advisor of Saga. Great to be here. Good to see you all.
Awesome, good to see you, Shira.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Matura. I am the administrative assistant in Act 101, and I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary with the college. So I'm excited to meet you all.
Awesome. Good to meet you too, Karen.
Karen is one of the few people who was new to the college that actually got a chance to step foot on the college during the COVID situation. So, but I'm Craig, you guys, Director of Student Support Programs at Montgomery. Welcome, everyone.
I'm Mo Gainey, and I am an Act 101 Student Success Coach, and I will be, my 3-year anniversary working with the college will be in December.
Excellent. That's great. I see someone put in the chat, so welcome. Tanae, is it? And Sylvia, and someone else is on the phone. So that's great. Want to introduce yourselves, or we just move right on? You're good?
Yeah, if anyone else wants to jump in and do a quick intro, you know, we are more than happy to hear. If not, then we will, you know, turn it back over to Dr. Oikelome and she will begin. Anyone else want to jump in?
Ingrid Fisher, Keys Program. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ingrid.
Hi, Ingrid.
Hello there.
Hi, Ingrid.
Hey there.
Good to see you.
Awesome. All right, going once, going twice.
Hi.
So, hi, Tanae.
Hi, Tanae.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tanae.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet everybody. I'm not even sure what semester or term I'm in.
Is this your first year or your second year with us?
I was still my first year. Still my first year.
Okay.
I started in January for spring semester. My major is human services. It's been a challenge for me for each semester, especially right now. I'm a little behind, but I have nothing but motivation and positive support from this college and Talkspace. So I'm happy to be here to learn more, to better help myself and others, basically.
Absolutely. Great. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Tanae. And that's okay, because some days I don't know what day it is, but I always say to myself, as long as I am present, that's all that counts. So you are here and you are present, and we'll figure out whatever semester or day it is as we go along. So that I think that's all we ask is that presence. And I love what you just said about motivation. So again, it's truly my privilege to be here. As I said, this is one of the parts of the job where I like to engage, and it's not just, you know, we're all here for the students, but I love to engage my colleagues across all units, because we're all working towards the same goal. And sometimes we all have different approaches of how we get there. And if we don't take time to get to know one another, then we misunderstand the approaches that we're all using. And that's one of the big things that I found in higher ed. So, you know, a little quick brief about me. As I said, I started out my career, as I said, in my as an 8th grade earth science teacher. I come from a very medical family, so I was actually on that journey, set to go to med school, took the MCAT, was doing a fellowship at the Brooklyn VA, and the next fall was to start medical school. Actually, myself and my brother, we were both, and he is now the doctor. Although I tell him, I'm the doctor, we write the books, and now you walk in and just blow everybody away with your knowledge and prescribe what they're supposed to do, but you all don't do all the research. So it is one of the things for how I'm sitting here in this role today. This journey is also about you exploring different things and that being okay before you find your place. Because, you know, as I share all the time, I come from a very big supportive family that is and as they are as supportive as always, also wanting to tell you where to go and what to do. And I think many of us can relate to that. With regardless of what your family background, there are people in your life who are like, well, you should, fill in the blank. And that's what kind of started out the pathway of thinking I was going into medicine. And the more I studied, the more it was great. It was good. I loved what I was learning. I can't remember if I shared this story, but I remember it was the first surgical rotation at the Brooklyn VA. And when the IV started going and the lights and things are being cut open and the smells and the that was right at that point where it was like, okay, this might not work. And I always share the story, and I tell people that the attending physician, who was also my supervising physician at the time, Dr. Peter Finch, wonderful elderly white male. And he looked at me and he had said, Gloria, I didn't know your shade could go that light when all of that started. And that, take that however you would, but I knew what he meant, because I knew I had both a physical reaction and a mental and emotional reaction to being in the environment where it was live. Now, mind you, I just spent 2 semesters with, cadavers in a lab, cutting all kinds of things, learning all kinds of, but it was just a live experience. And I remember the tough decision of having to go to my parents to say, I'm not going to medical school come September. I'm going to tell them somebody else can have this space, because if I start this, I'm not going to finish. And if I could do my parents' actions, like, what are you talking about? Like that, just the whole village descends, like, no, that's not the plan. And just having that courage to say, that's not you, that's not the plan. That's the plan you had put out, and I need to sort of just find where I'm supposed to be. So, I went and decided, okay, well, I will go and do my master's and just keep studying more. I was a cell and molecular biology major. I'm like, I'll keep doing more science and just keep seeing where that leads. And I digress with that to say, and I've said this before, you can find ways to not pay for school. Do your research, talk to people. I have 2 master's degrees and I didn't pay for either one of them. And I've said that over and over to students, and they always say, well, how did you? It is possible. And those of us who are working in this environment, I told people, I said, in the last year and a half, one of my biggest frustrations is all this money that was thrown at us and figuring out how we parcel it out. Now, my frustration is the bureaucracy, because those of you who do funding and who work in all these various programs represented here, that our hands also sometimes get tied with how we can utilize these funds. But I specialize in looking for creative ways to utilize funds while remaining legal. I know that's being recorded, so emphasize remaining legal, okay? Because it's just, we need to help students. And particularly I say to students of color, because, we've made a lot of strides in achievement in the academy. Black females now are actually leading in terms of doctoral degrees. However, there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of more students to get further in their education, especially in terms of completion. So we find that a lot of us are starting, but it's that finishing that we've got to do. So talk to people at your school, there's all kinds of programs out there that help you find that free money. And for me, in my background, again, of that beautiful, wonderful, strong, supportive village, like any village, I don't care what color your village is, money talks. So the moment it was like, oh, you're going to get that degree for free. Okay, no problem. If we don't have to pay for it, then we'll forgive that you didn't go the path that, we wanted you to go down. So it all worked out. And again, no plan, just saying, I started out as a science major undergrad. And I decided to just, keep going and seeing where that led. I was taking my classes. I was a graduate fellow. I had a stipend. I had housing, and tuition and fees were paid for. And then I was told to teach the undergrad labs. It was at Long Island University, big university. So the professor comes in and gives all the lectures, and then they divide the 100 students up into multiple labs and use graduate assistants to teach the labs. And there was where it first connected that, okay, there's a love for teaching and learning here. Because when the students all started coming to me, even for their lecture, and not to the man who was standing in front of the class, who probably now that I'm in higher ed as an administrator and it's my role to support and help faculty, might have pulled them in and said, you thinking about retirement yet? But obviously there was a power dynamic that many years ago, and it didn't dawn on me that that was what was going on, that here was a subject matter expert, but not necessarily a teacher. And that's a big distinction in higher ed. We have subject matter experts, but unlike K through 12, we don't teach faculty. Faculty still also need to go through being taught how to teach. And that can sometimes be, you know, a bone of contention, because if you just think about it in normal life, if you are a subject matter expert, well, how are you coming to tell me I need to know how to teach what I know? Like, I'm smart, I know this stuff, you know? And I get that. And I think that's how I'm also being able to relate, you know, with my faculty and say, listen, there's a way we can communicate this to support and to help you. Because again, it's that human nature. So I don't get upset when they kind of push back and say, how are you going to teach me how to teach? I liken it to, it's just human nature. Kind of like in my home, when I tell my children do something and they come back with something smart, and it's like, no, I'm the mom. How many years do I have on you? How much knowledge do I have? Let's review who's paying the bills. So I get that. I get that it's a human nature. And again, remember where I started of knowing people. Learning to know people helps us to do our jobs better, rather than me just looking at it through the lens of, oh, here's a faculty who does not want to change or make. I also put on my hat of, okay, in my home, sometimes I tell my kids, no, I know what I'm doing. And then sometimes humility has to come in, because I've also learned from my children when I go back and reflect and I think, okay, they were kind of right. And then I'll go in with an apology, which I always preface with, well, grandma never apologized to me, so you're lucky. So maybe I still need to learn that too. So, but anyway, so I was teaching these students in the labs and really enjoying it. And that just led to more. And it was like, okay, next semester, do another stipend. Now we want you to teach more sections. Really, really exciting and just enjoying that. And I finished my master's, and I remember one of the faculty saying to me, you know, you really have something for teaching here. Would you want to go in and do that? So I said, okay. And at that time, though, you know, as I know now, and I know that world well, you have, you know, it's the adjunct world that opens up for you. So what am I going to do with that? Can I pull together how many institutions and pay the bills? That's going to be a bit tough. So I went back for a second master's in science education, and that's where I got my certification, because at that time it seemed K through 12 might be more stable to be able to have a permanent teaching job. So just kind of living in both worlds. And again, that has helped me tremendously in my current role now, because while sometimes we spend a lot of time pointing fingers and blaming each other, K through 12 and higher ed, we actually have a lot to learn from each other. And some faculty that I've worked with over the years, and even in my role as a faculty, a lot of that, you know, how to develop curriculum, scaffolding, that came out of my K through 12 training of, again, knowing how to be a teacher. Long before I had to worry about, like, I know my stuff, but it doesn't matter how much I know if I can't teach somebody else. You know, there's no point if I'm the smartest person in the room and nobody can learn anything from me. So that's a world I've never stepped away from, which is why I love now that in higher ed, obviously we have dual enrollment, we have the partnerships. That's a world I really stay in. And even my circle of friends, all, you know, it's sort of 50-50 between those in K through 12 and those in higher ed, because we constantly need to learn from each other. Interesting aspect for me, and, you know, I want to say this to encourage Tanae, any other students on, or even any of you as professionals, wherever you are in your journey. I remember my chemistry teacher in my undergrad, Dr. Taverniers. I remember the names of teachers who were like, okay, because someday I'm gonna tell Dr. Paul Tavernier, who, after I just kept stumbling over some concepts in chemistry at that time, had said to me, you might want to just consider dropping this class and dropping your major as a science. And I won't say what else he said, because in 2021, when we talk about, you know, racial aspects and things like that, I put on my hat now and evaluate what he said to me, maybe not meaning to be malicious, I don't know, but I also know that in this day and age, if a faculty said that to a student of color today, we'd be having a conversation in my office. Let's just leave it there. But it was basically to discourage me. And I thought, okay, and I was discouraged. I was extremely demotivated. Just thinking through how am I going to, but being motivated that I do have a goal and I want to finish and get this degree, but how do I reconcile this person where there is a power dynamic? I still have to get through the rest of this class, but he obviously doesn't think I'm even qualified to be here. So reach out, scream for help, always. Student, faculty, staff, administrator, whoever you are in life, reach out and scream for help because none of us can do everything on our own. There are people in my life that I reach out and scream for help, even at this level, even across the institution. And I always say to people, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I'm never afraid to say what I don't know. And that's why I know so much. It's really that simple. The more you are comfortable to ask, the more you acquire knowledge, and then you become confident in whatever you have to do. But so Dr. Tavernier told me that, and it set me back. It really set me back. And this story has stuck with me really for life, because for me, it was a lesson in, and that's where what I wrote in the Meet a Mustang, it all came together because it's been a principle for me all throughout my life, where different people say you can't do something. These are people who are, influential, and you alone have that authority to determine how am I going to let what Dr. Tavernier says make or break me. Because sometimes, and I met with a student last week where it was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting turned into a 1 hour, 45-minute meeting because the student was just so rolled up in so many things of what a faculty had said, similar to what the experience I had, but not quite as malicious, I think. And in this case, I truly think the faculty, we're working on cultural sensitivity in the classroom and other things. So we were able to have a good dialogue with that faculty to say, moving forward. And it was a really good learning experience for them. But the student, because again, we're in this current environment where, those kind of comments and things, we're hypersensitive now. There's a lot going on. And this student was so wrapped up in it. And I had to say, okay, let's pause. What's your goal here? You let me address my faculty. I'm going to deal with that. But what's your goal? Because if you can sit on this and what has given you offense, and you can be here and I'll check on you in 3 months and you'll still be there saying what this person said has kept me. And I know people like that. And I'm sure you all do. I know there are people in my life who I'm still trying to say, pick up from where, whatever that comment made you stay there. And it's not easy. And this is not, there's all kinds of empathy and feeling so bad for how there are people in people's lives who can so get in their heads and so affect how you think. We've all been there. And that's why I had said, it's been a journey, it's been a destination. But once you get there, boy, is it liberating. And that doesn't mean there still won't be people who try to do that, but you've learned. So you can now say, oh, no, I'm not putting value on what you just said because that's going to break me. So let's keep it moving. And I had to really pick myself up. I had to just find motivation. I had to get people around me who could say, you can do this. And so that's where that supportive village comes, and whatever your village looks like. Village is not always blood. It's not always family. It is whoever is here in my circle of influence who is saying things to help me make it. If you're trying to break me, you're no longer in this village. We will kick you out. Like that is, there are rules in my village. And you need to make some rules in your village as well. Because you have a responsibility to protect your mind, your spirit, your soul. And really no one can do that for you but you. I mean, there's all kinds of self-help. There's also kinds of people who can encourage you. There's whichever way you find your encouragement. For some people, it's their faith. For some, it's meditation. For some, it's whatever. But when all that's said and done, all those things can only be as effective as you say, okay, let's make this happen. And then you have to be courageous to kick some people out of your village. It's really that simple. And so, I got that motivation and finished finished that class and finished well. A lot of hard work though. It wasn't just like, oh, I finished. But the reason I link that story is that when I finished both my master's degrees, remember I was in New York, Long Island University, living with family, aunt and uncle. My family is in the Midwest though. So I decided to go back home because I wanted to be closer to family, and decided that all I could really find, all that was in higher ed were adjunct positions at that time. And there were a lot of openings for, and still are, so plug for education, K through 12, especially now we need them. I had my fair share of picking as a Black woman with a science certification to teach in a middle school. And some friends thought I was crazy, but I was headed to the middle schools in the inner city because I felt that was where I could make a difference. That's where I did all my student teaching and all my experiences, even though I had my pick of the cream of the crop, districts in suburbia. But teaching for me has been a calling. It still is. Even my job today is a calling. So you link that to where you're supposed to be. But as fate would have it, I went back to my undergraduate institution because I needed to get an official transcript to submit to the St. Paul, school districts. And there was my former biology teacher, Dr. Teresa DeGolier, first female biology teacher I've had, who was the person who encouraged me to go into science. Gloria, how are you? Great hug. How are you doing? I'm great. I'm here to get my transcript. She's like, are you working? I said, yep, gonna start, subbing in the fall, but they're going to have me transition into a full-time role come spring or the second half of the year. She's like, well, I actually need an adjunct instructor for the fall semester. And I'm like, no, I'm not really looking for an adjunct position. She's like, go think about it. And on the drive home, I just strongly felt impressed that I need to take that role. And again, whatever strongly impresses you, whether it's your faith, whether it's just a piece you have, I know because I've been here before, like, this is the way to go, even though this door is opening. So I took that position, and lo and behold, that turned into my first, semester after semester, first bona fide a faculty position. But here's where I connect that story. The first full-time faculty meeting of the STEM division, I looked to my right and there was Dr. Paul Tavernier. And we're no longer student and faculty. I get a little emotional with this story because I can picture that day, that room where I was and how I felt, because now we are colleagues. We are on equal footing. You are a faculty member in this division, and I am a faculty member in this division. Now, my mama raised me right, so I'm typically not a I told you so unless we're in my house and I'm talking to the mister, and I probably shouldn't be doing that either, but it's okay. Because that's a whole different vibe, and there's love there, so it's not malicious. But my good upbringing came through, and we just looked, and you know how what our folks call the nod? So, there was a nod, and it was an acknowledgement, and I looked into this man's eyes and I saw respect. Because he knew, this was not just, this was not an intro level class I was coming to teach. These are bio majors. And the head of the department, who was his boss, would not be bringing me in if she didn't have confidence that I could teach this course. So he knew, and I knew, and he knew that I knew that he knew that I'm good and I'm here. Will he ever say anything? Did he ever say anything? Didn't need to, and it's okay. But I knew, and I had that motivation. So I say that to say, what are your goals? There's all kinds of things that are going to detract you in that goal. And then even after you achieve that goal, there are all kinds of things that are going to detract you. I'm here in this position today at Montgomery County Community College. It's the village around me, and it's God. That's the only way I can put it. Again, pick whatever it is that you reflect on and where you find your source of, peace and motivation. Because once I did that job, it just one thing led to another. And there I was, faculty for a number of years, just loving what I do. But remember, I had my K through 12 hat. So I was that faculty that always went to my dean and always went to other colleagues like, why are we doing this? Students are struggling to understand this concept. Why are we just standing in front of the classroom talking? Why? Because they look down on some of that stuff, but it's like, well, my students are passing. Because I am that crazy science teacher that'll be bouncing off the walls and showing you all kinds of demos and bringing it alive and telling you to go home and go into your kitchen and pull all these things out to understand this concept I just explained to you. Because when it's time for the test, you're going to remember that formula because you'll remember that crazy experiment that I did. And to them, that was just kind of, that's so elementary. That's what they do in K through 12. No, that's just called teaching and learning. I don't care how old you are. So I was constantly, saying stuff, raising my hand, all very respectfully. That's another thing. You're not going to get respect if you burst in and you're there to just, tear everybody down. Very respectfully. I know my stuff. I know what I know. That's why I'm putting this out here. And my results are not lying because this is how my students are doing. And I also know how your students are doing. And I also know that your students want to come over to where I am. But we're not going to talk about that. So, my dean kind of at that time, I think she got tired of me constantly complaining about this and that and this. So she just she's like, you know what? You think this job is easy. Gonna give you a release for this semester. You go work on this curriculum. You go put all this stuff together. We'll adopt it. And then I will help you enforce it across the department. So I'm like, great. So off I go. And I think there's karma because years later, when I became a dean, I was like, why did I give my dean such a hard time? Because it is not easy corralling your colleagues together when you've got a great idea. You've got this innovative way that you want to do something. It's going to help students. And then you're up against this wall of people who are like, no, I was teaching it this way before you were born. Or, this is how we've always done it. And that was hard. That took a lot out of me. And I had a whole new level of appreciation for administration because I realized as faculty, I had a luxury of just kind of saying, you're not doing all these things right. Why is it taking so long for us to move this along? Not realizing I had a dean who was also trying to move it along, but he was, he sometimes hit walls with different people who, change is hard. But I was able to leverage being a faculty and still talk their language and say, okay, come observe my class. Come, let's have a conversation and move these things along. And we were able to pass that curriculum. So my dean said, okay, you're good at this. Next semester, we'll give you these additional releases to do this and that. And then it got to a point where she was like, you need to just leave here and go apply to be in administration because you can take all the worlds you navigate, K through 12. You've done higher ed faculty. If you really want to go where you can impact change, you need to go to administration because then you can use all that knowledge to help and leverage and work with faculty. And I said, okay. So I went and applied for the first position, was able to get it. And then from there on, it's just been, I think it's the same thing happens. I'll see something. I'll say, okay, why are we doing it this way? Somebody will say, okay, you go do it. And then next thing it's done. And it's like, okay, where do you want to go next? And that all has led me here, going from a coordinator to a director, to an assistant dean, to an associate dean, to a dean, to a vice president of academic affairs. And this is where I'm going to stop for a while because I'm tired because it's a calling. It's something I love to do, but it will take a lot out of you. But as long as you keep reminding yourself that it's a calling and why are you doing it, it will get done. And now I have the privilege of sharing my story, whether it's a platform like this, whether it's a STEM Girls Day on Saturday where I drag my daughter with me to some school district where we're going to motivate and inspire young girls to, you don't even have to go into STEM, just love learning. That's really always what the focus is. And then I keep doing that. And, again, my biggest encouragement to all of you, anyone, is if you have a goal and you know what that goal is, back to that life principle again, you and you alone have the authority to determine who's around you, who's in that circle of influence, who is saying the things into you. And then sometimes that person is yourself. And then you have to stop and talk to yourself and say, self, you made these goals. You need to stop making excuses, or you need to stop being hard on yourself. Those of you who know me hear me all the time talking about give yourself grace. Give others around you grace and give yourself grace, because you don't know what people are going through when you just sort of talk to them anyhow or address them anyhow or or you've all felt that if somebody just treats you a certain way and you're thinking, you don't even have a clue, and I close with this. For me, has been so much in this past year and a half where we're dealing with so much across the country. We're dealing with so much in higher ed. We're dealing with so much with this pandemic. And, when you are in a certain position and you're the person that people will come to with all kinds of, people project everything on you. They project their anxiety. They project what they're angry about. And every time they do it, they sometimes forget that you're like, who do I get to project to? And you have to protect yourself so that you're not, putting that on to your children or to people that you love or to people. It's really, really important. So I'm not just speaking to students. I also want to pause and close with speaking to my colleagues. Every single one of you, from faculty to administration, to staff, to leaders, whatever role you do at Montco, you can only be as best in that role as you give yourself grace to have that place where you pause and say, because we love our students and we will go over, above, and beyond for them. Everybody that I know. And it's so encouraging. And sometimes in the space of doing that, we become so exhausted. And this is real for me because I remember a couple days in the last year that got so much when just about everybody and their mother had something to say by email and with some kind of problem that I needed to tackle, that I needed to triage, that was my fault, that whatever. I remember like 4 days in a row shutting down, and because we're all working like 14 to 16 hours, and stop doing that too, because nobody's going to do work-life balance for you if you don't do it for yourself. That's free advice. I remember just 4 days in a row where I shut the computer down. One of those days I remember I'd been on campus, so I drove home, literally walked in my door, and I had nothing left to give anyone that was in this house. And that scared me. It was a wake-up call. Like, the day has so drained me that I got nothing. Literally looked at everybody, figure out what you're gonna eat. I'm going to bed. And by the fourth time that happened, and it doesn't matter who's in your house. You may come home to a dog. You may come home to the cat. If you have nothing left to give the dog or the cat, something's wrong. Okay. Something is wrong. Or you pick up the phone and you're supposed to, call a friend or call a family member or check in with someone after work, and you realize you have nothing left to give them. Something is very, very wrong. And I realize that sometimes we who are at the forefront of supporting and helping others, we so often forget about ourselves. And after that fourth time, I thought, what am I doing? This is whoa. This is not going to work, because I am not going to be of use to anybody or myself if I don't pause. And I say that to students as well. You are navigating a lot. Some of you are parents, and then some of you have responsibility for parents. You work, you are trying to put things together. You've got bills to pay. You every day, there's just a hustle and a struggle. Regardless of how strong that hustle, and yes, Tanae, find, even if it's 5 minutes in the day, to say, what have I done for me today? Absolutely, Dr. Smith. And I know we say self-care and it seems such a cliche, but it's not. That's a cliche you've got to make real. Find whatever it is. Because again, when you get to a place where you realize you have nothing left to give the people in your life that matter the most, that's the wake, that's your wake, that's your body giving you a wake-up call. That's your mind giving you a wake-up call to say, okay, what's going on here? And I'm blessed because I have people in my life who they realize I don't have much to give, but they're so loving and they want to encourage and support me in this role. Because we had to sit down as a family and say, okay, mommy has an opportunity, because she's been asked to make this thing go from interim to permanent. Now you all see what's happened this last year in interim, where I don't know what you all ate some nights. Are we ready for this? Because if we are, this is what it means. And they give me that grace. But then when people give you that grace, you don't want to take it for granted as well. Very, very important. So I will stop there. That is my story all over the place in many different ways. I hope you've learned or found something to connect to. I'm happy to answer any questions or just share additional words of encouragement to anyone.
I actually thank you so much for sharing that.
Yep.
I always enjoy you.
Same.
So, I
Thank
mean,
you so much.
I was here. I did have a question about, but you answered it. How did you make that shift from science to academia? But you did it so eloquently. So no questions here.
Thank you.
Dr. Oikelome, I have a question. So
Yeah.
I've started my journey towards my PhD currently this semester. It's been quite taxing, especially during the pandemic. But I wanted to ask you, how important is it to kind of connect with people in your cohort, stay in contact? Because I realized there's a lot of people in my cohort that are not teaching yet, and there's a few that are. And so we have kind of a different, I feel like they have more time, right? When I have a little bit of time and I want to engage them and go through this process, but I feel like too much time is committed to my students. How can I find some type of balance there?
No, that's a great question. And first of all, kudos, as I said when you started. So, because we need to call you Dr. Watson very soon. So, the cohort, boy, I can't, and I'm in those, Dr. Smith, others on the call who are in the process, you can, which would I believe agree with me on the importance of the cohort. But it's not necessarily everybody in your cohort. So there are people from my doctoral cohort that we are now lifelong friends, and I still check in. And there are people I don't know what the heck they're doing, because from the beginning, it was clear that our paths are kind of different. And every cohort has that one person who they're not working. So they have all kinds of time. They're the first to comment. They're the first to write everything. They'll write like 10 paragraphs, even though the instructor said write 200 words or less in the forum. And they're the ones texting everybody on the cohort chat saying, have you read so-and-so? And they'll list like 10 articles. And you're like, I don't even know what's due tonight. What are you talking about? Like that was me. And so I love those kind of people. I respect their organization, but I knew that we'll just be cohort mates, but we're not going to be besties because you, one, intimidate me a little bit, and two, we're not going in the same vibe. So keep in touch with your cohort and look for people who are similar minded, because they're the ones who are really going to help. That doesn't mean, as I said, shun your cohort, because the cohort as a whole is really important, but you can identify those one or two people that, okay, you're kind of here too. You're kind of, let's work together. Let's talk together. Let's encourage each other. And that's really how you're going to get through, especially when you get to dissertation phase, which is the lonely phase, because then you're no longer all sitting down in class. Everybody's at a different place trying to figure out what the heck it is that they're trying to do. So, I hope that helps find people, but also don't discount people outside your cohort who are accountabilities, whether it's a good friend, a partner, because you're going to need all those people. You're going to need people to say, ask me how many articles I read for my lit review today, or ask me that every 2 days, or give me a kick in the behind when I tell you I've not read or written anything in 2 weeks, because that's a problem. And I collect people, so I encourage people to collect people. And you can collect me as well, because there's 4 of your faculty peers that are on my list who have asked me respectfully to kick them in the behind when they're not doing what they need to do. And I am more than happy to do that, because we need more Dr. Watsons. So we need more students for you to stand up in front of the class the first day of class and say, I'm Dr. Watson. And there's students in the class who look like you, and what that does to them, you can't even imagine, because I was one of those students.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
Tanae, you need more support and friends. I just said collect people. So add me to your collection. It's really important in life that you collect people. But remember what I said, because not everybody can be in your village. But collect people. So everyone on this call right now, that are part of the college community, should be on your list of people that you have collected. I have students who, even during this pandemic, I've never met them in person, but they collected me a year and a half ago, and I will still check in. I will still check in. So-and-so, how's it going? How's your semester? You know, set up a Zoom meeting, let's check in. That's just the way to do it. You need different people. And they need to be across the board, because you don't want to surround yourself with all the people who will always say, oh, it's okay that you didn't do your homework. It's okay that you didn't study for your test. You want some of that because you need it, but you also want the people who are like, well, what are you doing on Netflix when you're supposed to be reading, you know, those articles or studying? You need the balance. You need both. Yep. And Tanae, I might have heard a little person in the background for you, or I don't know if that was someone else. Don't discount the influence of your children on the journey as well. When I did my doctoral program, my kids were, you know, in 5th and 6th grade throughout the time. And I know I shared it this other time that I'm doing a second one and I'm about to defend that. So I'm almost done. It's crazy. That's a whole nother story. But my kids were young when I started that. And I would tell them all the time, you have homework, mommy has homework. Remind mommy, has she done her homework? Don't discount your kids in the process. And those wonderful, that's great. So you will be able to, and you have 5 children. That means you have 5 different personalities, right? You know that as a mom. I have 2 different personalities. So based on their personalities, you know the ones that's gonna say, mommy, I stopped watching TV because you told me you had work to do. Yep. And then you know the ones that's gonna say, mom, it's okay. You need to just sit down tonight and rest and you'll pick it up another day. So task them according to their personality to be your account and your support.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful stuff.
Do we have any more questions or comments? Anyone want to jump in there? I know we have about 7-ish minutes left, 8-ish. Dr. Oikelome, I just want to say that's amazing. I'm so happy for you that you're going to defend your second, right? You said that is amazing. That is huge.
I know. This Greg is like,
I'm so amazed.
What will your second degree?
My topic is emotional intelligence, and that's what's gotten me through doing this job. And I've been studying it for years, and I've spent so much time just studying it to help me in my job. It was a mentor who was like, you have all these articles, you have things you've written, why are you not doing something with this? And there you go. So
that is amazing.
But we're there. But I know I am crazy, Dr. Smith. You're not the first to tell me.
2 master's degrees.
You're
yeah.
All you can say to that is
there's a purpose.
Okay.
There's a purpose. When I started that consulting company, I'm coming for you. That's why.
Okay. My number doesn't change.
Wait, can we like delete that last part on the recording? Share that with Dr. Vastecki Perez? No. I'm at Montgomery and I'm committed. I'm going
committed.
I will certainly be reaching out to you both.
Please do. Please do. You get different perspectives.
Definitely, because you will definitely need it. I told my story in the first segment that we did for the what is it called, Steph?
What?
It's really the Good Doctors Network.
It's the Future Doctor series.
Future Doctor.
It's the Future Doctor series.
For our future doctors. We want to encourage all our students to be future doctors.
All of that. But I was ABD at one institution and I had earned 57 towards the 60 credits. I was finished all of the coursework. I was at a for-profit institution and I maxed out in that contractual seat time. Ended up taking a job at Drexel, attempting to get this done for free, right? And Drexel only took 3 of those 57 credits. So I started all the way over and I'm like, if I had 2 degrees, maybe I should have gone to medical school. But then I thought about biochemistry and said, nah, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So it's doable. You just have to remain committed and just do it.
Yeah.
Right. Dissertation is a done dissertation. Let's get it done.
Absolutely.
I think Karen, you had a question. Is that right?
I was going to ask what her second PhD was for, but she again answered the question. So I have to ask. So what does your husband do? What is his career?
Well, that's why this works. So he teaches in a doctoral program. So he gets my crazy.
Okay. That's amazing.
And that's the only way that would have worked.
Wow.
Because
And what
any
is
other
he?
person would have been like, what you said, what? Where you finished 4 years, you took a break, you started another 4 years? No, that's not gonna happen, but he gets, there's a reason why, so.
Okay.
But it's all good. This is helping in this day. I'm looking at emotional intelligence and with academic D's, because I need some of that for my people.
Bless you.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. Truly
Thank
humbled.
you.
Always a privilege to talk with all of you and engage. And again, let's collect each other. We are all colleagues.
Absolutely.
We're all after the same goal. So please reach out anytime. And I sent Tanae, you're still on the call. Please shoot me an email so I have your contact information so that I can reach out and just check in on you every now and then as the semester progresses. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I'll send it to
Okay,
Tanae if
thanks.
you'd like.
Karen is gonna send you my contact and then you just, yep.
I actually
And
just sent it to
doesn't
her,
need to be long
sorry.
and flowery. Just shoot me 2 sentences, say, hi, Dr. Rowe, it's Tanae. I'll know exactly who you are, and then we'll just keep it moving from there. I have a folder of the students I check in, and it's like labeled. This one asks for a swift kick. This one just asks for like words of kindness. So you tell me what you need, and that's what we'll do. And we all
I
need that.
appreciate everybody so much. I really, really do. This is nothing but motivation to
Good.
hurry up and still do what I gotta do. I can't give up. I'm not a quitter. I've never been a quitter, so I can't give up now. So I came too far.
Absolutely.
I came too far. I can't give up.
Yes.
And then you've been
Absolutely,
showing
Tanae.
up for everything, so that's
Exactly.
the main thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. You got this.
Yep.
Thanks, y'all. I will be in touch with everyone. Y'all have an amazing rest of y'all evening.
Thank
Absolutely. You too,
Thank
today. Thank you so
Take
much
care.
for joining.
Encouraged.
Awesome. Great work, colleagues. All of you keep doing what you're doing, because I know it's a thankless job, but I think it's a calling or none of us would be here. I truly believe that.
Absolutely. I believe that as well, for sure.
Because I'm looking at all these wanted ads of all these remote jobs outside of higher ed. And I'm like,
Exactly. Well, again, thank you everyone so much for joining. We truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate you, Dr. O, really just telling your story and guiding us through that and really being so open to being essentially a mentor to like everyone here. So, thank you so much for that. We truly appreciate it. And I am definitely going to be collecting you. I've collected a few other people on this call already.
yes.
I have in my collection. But definitely thank you for that. I never thought about it in that way, but I like the way that you.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I like that.
People. Absolutely.
Yes.
Great. Well, have a great night, everyone.
Thank
Please
you,
have
everybody.
fun.
Take care.
Recuperate,
Okay.
rest, and
Have a
relax.
good
Everyone, have a great night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Christine, you want to wrap up the recording, hun?
Yeah.